Hey guys, so after we talked about the low risk strategy for Plato, today we're going to talk about the high risk strategy for Plato. Okay, it's actually not that high risk, but it requires a lot of management in terms of hedging. You know, if you're in for a drawdown, what do you do? And that's really the topic of this conversation here, and the videos here will show you how you can overcome this, because when you're acting on a high risk strategy of Plato, you're just trying to run a lot of trades, okay, trying to make those small little gains so that your equity curve goes up. But when it goes down, how do you address it? This is really the topic of this video. Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about Plateau, but Plateau in terms of a higher risk strategy. So there's a lot of things involved here. Already went to the low risk strategy where I said that, you know, in order to get low risk, what you need to do is basically find pairs that trends. This could be found within crosses. And you also can find pairs that are going only in one direction. So this avoids it from going up and down and from you having drawdowns. So let's go ahead and see what is cooking if you want to do a high risk strategy for Plateau. So let me set this up in again. You got to know what's really happening in terms of the structure of how Plateau works. So basically, before you start anything, I think one of the most important factors if you're going to a high risk strategy is actually the time, right? The time frame, you know, so you can set your time frames at M5, which is every 5 minutes. It goes after a trade, M15, M30, even H1, and even day one. Of course, H1 will only take a trade every 1 hour. So what I do when I want to go super high risk and I want to get as many trades as possible, I set it up for M5. And if you know, if there are very volatile pairs like GBP, I usually go for H1 hourly or H4 every 4-hour chart, because you know they're just very, very risky. And this can be seen in the setup video for RISMI. Now, let's go to how really Plateau works. This is again just an experimental grid here. So let's say you have a channel like this, and you have a pair basically bouncing up and down. So Plateau works best here. So if you go here, the lower time frames, then it's very good. But just say suddenly, you know, suddenly it basically goes up like that. That's when you have big problems, and that's when you will have massive drawdown here. Okay, so in this situation, you're going to have a drawdown, and this is how Plateau works, because as the thing goes, as the pair goes up here, it will short, short, and then suddenly when you see the downturn like this, then it will, you know, all your losses here will be recovered back, and it goes back up again, short, and then you recover back, and goes up again, and then you recover back. However, if you have a situation like this where you're short, and then here is where stop loss is really triggered, and you can end up with losses. So a lot of people have been using Plateau, have been quite shocked. You know, they see gains, they thought it was easy, and then suddenly the gains turn out into losses. This is why you must really understand the basic concept of Plateau first. So like I've mentioned before, you know, it is normal for drawdown for Plateau. Again, let's draw this situation again. How do you start with Plateau? If we know that Plateau drawdown is normal, because basically, you know, the pairs like this, it's short, and then when it goes down here, it makes long. The start for Plateau is very important. You know, you want to really start at the right time. So what I normally try to do is that rather than having all these drawdowns here, I try to start here when the pair is moving up, because I know it will short, and then it goes down here. I make a lot of money on the way down. So that ensures to me that Plateau for me starts extremely well, okay? That I get a profit on Plateau, and when I do this, then I get to a winning start. Of course, when you have a winning start, it begets more winning starts. That's just the way it is. So another thing that you need to do here is basically managing the robot. This is very, very key. It's not something that you turn on and off. If you do that, I guarantee you're going to lose money. So you need to turn it off if volatility results in an extended trend. That means if you're in the channel here and suddenly it goes in like this, turn it off. or you're in the channel here and it goes like that, you gotta turn off the robot, okay? So during periods of high volatility, which we identify like here, and this is due to Mr. President Trump, of course, his tweets and all the geopolitical risks that come along, you need to basically hedge this risk and basically manage it. So I'm going to give you some suggestion on how I did it. Now, remember that sudden news can destroy your positions, because if you are in a drawdown like this, you know, like that, it's shorting. It never turns down. It just adds to the position until it comes out for a stop loss somewhere here, and that would have done your account some damage. Okay, so you do not want that. You do not want a drawdown because, you know, it does this. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is just cut off the robot if you see it there. I think that is the better condition here now. So you're going to have to be very sensitive to all the news that's coming out from the news wires, especially when this guy, President Trump, speaks. So here's just some of the advices that I'm giving here, you know, for you to protect your positions. Of course, the best way is that you try this yourself. So protecting, hedging against risk. If you're climbing up against an unplanned risk event, you know, Trump announces something, say, you know, hey, we've resolved the trade war issue. So, you know, suddenly you see a pair trending downward, just going up like that. Turn off the robot. Just get out of there and chill, okay? Don't do anything for the next several hours. In a planned event, just say that, you know that the Fed funds rate is coming up, right? You know, the announcement by Powell, you know, it can be very volatile. So, you know, if you have Euro USD there, if I'm positive Euro USD, then how to protect it? I would just go short Euro USD, just the same pair. And once this is over, I just cut this hedge out, okay? Don't bring it over to the next morning. There is something else going on there. So another way to do it is that, you know, Forex is very unpredictable. If I see a stop loss that's eating up like 1% to 1.5% to 2% of the account, I just set it off. You know, I just turn it off. I might even take the loss because I know the robot can easily make this back. Now, there's another issue that you go from, you know, you want to do an overnight hedge or weekend hedge from night to the next night. Now, this is very important because I got caught out in this. I tried to hedge Euro USD and USD JPY. You know, I was like positive Euro USD, negative here, which is, you know, short, no, long and short. So I put in a short position here. I put in a long position here. Suddenly the robot the next morning just killed it off. I wasn't happy about that, but that's just the way it works. So at least I know how it works. So if you want to do that, you have to use other pairs with negative correlation to each other. Now, how I do protect that position there, and you can see this in my FX book, is that, you know, if I'm going to hedge against Euro USD, not many people know this, a pair that does this very well to me is USD HUF. Because I can't do it in Euro USD really, because if I want to do it overnight, then bad things happen there. Okay, so I usually do it against USD HUF, which is a Hungarian forint, which kind of like has a negative correlation to Euro USD, you know. And if all else fails, remember, stop the robot altogether. Again, no one is forcing you to turn it on and on and on. If it gets too painful, just stop it altogether. Gather your thoughts again. Okay, guys, that's it. As usual, you can see that, you know, no pain, no gain. If you're going for a high risk strategy, meaning you're going for more frequent trades, you're going to get the occasional drawdowns, okay, from all this planned and unplanned event risk. And now, as you can see, as we head to the US elections in November 2020, what you're going to see is a lot of unplanned event risk as Trump keeps on tweeting, and causing really the ups and downs and the volatilities in the financial market. So this is what you have to be careful for. I hope that you enjoyed this video. See you for the next edition of the video on robots.